All right, well, another good morning, or I hope you're having a good night, Central Georgia. No severe warnings are issued right now for Central Georgia. However, the heaviest impacts that we are dealing with this system are approaching more populated areas such as Macon, such as Warner Robins, getting down to Perry. So we're going to go ahead and break it down and time it out. If many of you are getting woken up by maybe some heavy rain against your window, some of those gusty winds, it doesn't look like there's much in the way of lightning anymore, but just want to make sure that you know everything that is happening right now. Here's a live look at the Georgia National Fairgrounds. A little bit hard to see, but we were talking about it when we were live just a little bit ago. We were seeing those flags right there in front of the west gate. They were blowing from left to right, indicating a southerly wind. However, now they are blowing straight at the sky camera lens, so that's indicating that they're coming from the west as this system does move through. So a lot of raindrops right now on the sky cam lens, kind of inhibiting the view a little bit, giving you a little bit of an idea of how hard the rain is falling. Obviously, it doesn't look very hard, but it is a lot harder than it is indicated on this sky cam right now. Let's take it over to CGTC, where we have another sky cam that we just got as of last week. And it looks like the image a little bit fuzzy. I'm wondering if it's frozen or not. Let's go ahead and try to move it around just a little bit and try to find somewhere where there's a good amount of light, which is over here at Purdue Primary and Elementary. And yes, you can see these floodlights over here by the elementary and primary schools. And camera's not frozen, definitely, just no one on the roads whatsoever. A few rain droplets on the lens right there. This will begin to pick up as the heaviest band of rain does trek into Kathleen and Warner Robins. And now let's take it up here to downtown Macon, another area that is getting ready to see some of the heaviest bands of rain. And we've had it zoomed in for a while, and that really gives you a good picture of how gusty those winds are. It's making the camera shake right there. And right now it just looks like a very dreary morning, not seeing the heaviest rain roll through just yet. However, if we go over to our satellite and radar image, we can get a good idea of where that heaviest band of rain is. So we'll take it from top to bottom, zoom in all the way up here to our northern counties. So this heaviest band of rain, I'm going to pause it right here in real time. It gives me a better idea than trying to figure out how to time this, as it does have the motion. But this red color moving just to the east of Monticello now, getting those pockets of some dark red enveloped within there. So all the way from the northern end of Jasper County down to the southern tip, east of Monticello, continuing through this western northwestern edge of Jones County, approaching the gray area, moving just to the east of Bolingbroke, so it has moved around the I-75 corridor, now going over the North Macon area. That's areas like Arkwright Drive, Bass Road, Rivers Crossing, etc. And then getting down into the downtown Macon corridor, probably here in the next about 5 minutes or so, and continuing down I-75. As we go down into Peach County and Houston County, this heaviest band of rain does look to be to the east of I-75 now, getting right there around the Perry area. So I imagine that rain will continue to pick up at the Georgia National Fairgrounds, but going to move into downtown Warner Robins here pretty soon, and then straight down I-75, continuing that path down into Dooley County and Crisp County, and you'll see even some pockets of some pink right there. That's really heavy rainfall right there located between Byronville and Vienna, just to the south of Unadilla, mainly west of I-75 down in Dooley County, and then taking it down to Crisp County, still seeing it to the northwest of Cordele. It's looking like it's passing the Lake Blackshear area on the western edge of Crisp County, and then continuing down to the west of I-75 down to our southwest. So I want to go ahead and show you, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings all the way to the border of central Georgia. So Daughtry, Lee, Mitchell, Worth counties. That warning's still going to go for another about 45 minutes or so. But the latest update we did receive from the National Weather Service, you'll see this outlined yellow box. So obviously this isn't one huge big severe thunderstorm warning. This is our severe thunderstorm watch. We have had more counties added into this as of about an hour ago, maybe not even that long ago, probably about 45 minutes. Let's find that graphic, and that will really give you a good depiction of the specific counties. So once again, areas over to the west, like we were talking about earlier, they have been trimmed out of this severe thunderstorm warning. And many of these areas like Macon County, getting into Peach, Crawford, Monroe, and Butts County, all of these counties will probably get trimmed off of this warning here in the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. But a new addition of all of these counties down in our south and our southeastern corridor. We're talking Dooley County, Crisp County, Pulaski, Wilcox, Bleckley, Dodge, Telfair, Wheeler, Lawrence, Johnson, Trutland, Montgomery, and then Toombs County over here in Vidalia, and Emmanuel County in Swainsboro as well. So it just means that there still is confidence that these areas could have a stronger to severe thunderstorm. And right now the reasoning for that is because we're getting a little bit of an addition of moisture. So I've been talking about we've had these southeasterly winds. What that is doing is ushering in some Atlantic moisture all across the southern half of central Georgia. So there's more moisture to work with, and like we were talking about, that front moves through, lifts all that moisture at the surface and allows those cloud tops to be a lot higher in nature, and that means there are stronger thunderstorms associated with that. So speaking of moisture, let's go ahead and take a look at the dew points map, getting an idea of how much moisture is certainly available right now. So continuing to see this southeasterly flow, and these aren't just some steady winds. These are pretty substantial gusts, like they have been building in upwards to 30, 35 miles an hour. We'll take a look at that in 1 second as well. Dew points hovering in the upper 50s or around 60 in those counties that I did just mention. A little bit of a light shade of green. It's not the most amount of moisture that you can have to work with. However, for getting into late winter and early spring months, this definitely is an uptick in the moisture that we haven't really seen in the last couple of months, weeks, I guess, getting into months. So here's where your current winds and wind gusts stand. Like I said, even upwards to 31 miles an hour, like here in Macon, 31 miles an hour in Eastman, 28 in Dublin, 26 in Warner Robins. And it looks like some of our wind stations or wind observation stations not really working in our southern corridor. Once you get past the red, you start to transition into a pink color, even a sustained wind of 21 miles an hour down in Americus, and they are very fast, all ahead of this frontal boundary. But notice that lull I was talking about. That's what's to follow after the front does pass. We'll get a brief reprieve in those winds, and then they'll start to pick up later on as we head into the afternoon hours. So still rather windy all out and about in central Georgia. Let's go back to our Georgia National Fairgrounds sky cam. We'll flash it over to Macon to see if we can get a good glimpse of anything. As you know, or as you probably noticed on there, don't see any flashes of lightning. That's mainly down to the south and the southwest of us here. So it doesn't look like too much activity at or in downtown Macon, excuse me, but the Georgia National Fairgrounds, plenty of raindrops on the Skycam lens right there, getting a little bit of an idea of the wind speed right there with the flag, and then also just seeing that shine right there on the pathways leading into the west gate, indicating that there are a good amount of puddles and some rain trying to accumulate there. However, this is looking to be the heaviest band of rain, something that may wake you up, but once again, still no severe warnings all across central Georgia. We still do have the chance of that as we go throughout the next couple of hours. All right, so just got a note from our manager, Raymond Tubb, is saying we have about 605 people that are reporting power outages up here in Bibb County. So once again, these storms aren't running a severe tag whatsoever, but the winds, those straight line wind gusts, are still strong enough to down trees, to down power lines and such. And we're seeing that come to fruition in real time up here in Bibb County. And that's something we'll continue to keep you posted on all throughout the morning. We'll be coming up in a little over an hour on the morning show, and we'll have segments where we're incorporating those power outages into the show. So most of Bibb County has seen this heaviest band of rain roll through, this dark red that you see approaching the downtown Macon corridor. I imagine many of the outages have occurred farther over to the west, Lake Tobosoffke, Lake Wildwood, Lizella, areas over there. And then it does look like Rutland down in South Bibb County starting to see some of the heavier rain, and then getting into East Macon, and then crossing the county line over there into southern Jones, and then the northern edge of Twiggs County around Dry Branch. So once again, like we did earlier with this heaviest line of rain, let's go ahead and zoom it out all the way for central Georgia, and let's draw a line all the way down this leading edge of heaviest rain that we are seeing. And let's take it in motion about 22 miles an hour. Roughly, these storms have been moving easterly at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. So this gives you a good time frame. Obviously not going to include everywhere here because this is a very zoomed out picture. But if you do live close to any of these areas that are labeled, that gives you a good time frame and a time estimate associated with when that heavy rain and those gusty winds will arrive. And like we said, it's resulted in some power outages already here in Bibb County. 3:53 in Warner Robins, 4 o'clock in Stanfordville, 4:08 in Gray up in Jones County, 4:17 in Eatonton in Putnam County, 4:28 Hawkinsville in Pulaski County, 4:33 in Jeffersonville, Twiggs County, 4:43 in Cochran making its way to Bleckley County, and then 4:50 making its way into Baldwin County in Milledgeville. So once again, not labeling every individual specific town that is associated with this, but if you do live near any of these areas or those counties that I incorporated with those names, then that's when you can expect a general time frame, probably about maybe 10 to 15 minutes away, depending on where you do live, relative to those areas. So we will erase this and let's go ahead and play this once again. And let's take it down to the southwest, see what's going on. So still a continuous line of severe thunderstorm warnings all the way to the southwest of Crisp County, down through South Georgia, down to the state line, and now getting into Bristol, Florida, just to the east of Panama City. I imagine getting over close to Port St. Joe. Yes, right there we see Port St. Joe in a severe thunderstorm warning. Stop Choppy, Tallahassee incorporated in a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's what's to the southwest of us, and the consensus is with the motion of this heaviest band of rain, it continues to track mainly to the north and the northeast associated with these storms. However, the frontal boundary is driving it in a general easterly direction. But stuff down to the southwest is still going to come up into the southern corridor of central Georgia, and along with that moisture influx that we continue to see from the Atlantic Ocean, those south and southeasterly winds that are definitely moving at a very good clip. It's ushering in more moisture available for these storms to continue to try to strengthen into severe criteria. But nonetheless, all of this that I just talked about is still one threshold below a severe thunderstorm warning. It's what we call those special weather statements. So the winds are still gusty up to about 50, 55 miles an hour. You have to cross a certain threshold of about 58, 59 miles an hour to get into the severe thunderstorm criteria. And now hearing the rain pick up here at the station. So let's go back to our Macon sky cam, since we're pretty close to where our sky camera is. Here we're just up the road on Gray Highway. And yes, the visibility has definitely gone down. That's giving you an idea of how heavy that rain is. We'll zoom in just 1 second, but can't even see Gray Highway up here on the hill anymore. And that's kind of where we are here at the station. So we're obviously dealing with this heavy rain moving in as well. And then it does look like the roads are still rather wet. However, the wind gust is something, and still the really main concern that we have been dealing with all throughout forecasting this the past 2 days and such, and it has resulted in some power outages already at this hour. So if we zoom in, it doesn't look like winds are too gusty as it does stand right now. Keep it here for just a minute. Sometimes you just gotta let the sky cam, you're not gonna see everything in real time. You just gotta let it sit for a little bit, and then maybe you'll get a peek of some of the wind gusts and such. But it does look like not terribly gusty winds. If we look closely here at the stoplights, don't quite see them swaying too much. Down here at the bottom of the screen, this flashing light right here, you can see maybe a little bit of motion with this and maybe some slight shaking associated with the sky camera. But we do have some reported outages here in Bibb County. So obviously, typically go on for when we do have our severe warnings here in central Georgia. But with this moving into some of our more populated areas like Warner Robins and Macon, and many of you probably getting woken up by this, just wanted to keep you updated, let you know that there is no severe warning as it does stand right now, but this still is a line of strong thunderstorms that is rolling through. Really just a line of windy rain now per se, because like I said, no lightning strikes really whatsoever. You saw a couple of them flashing out to the west. None of those are coming to fruition whatsoever anymore. So that's one less thing you do have to worry about, is that flash of lightning creeping through your window, waking you up, that subsequent rumble of thunder following shortly behind. Actually, over here, kind of interesting, just when you look at these lines of storms, you virtually think of it as a big clump. It's all continuous, it's all steady rainfall, even after that initial line, that heaviest rain that we are seeing trek through western Houston County now. And you are getting a little bit of a patch of maybe some clearing right there, or maybe that's just some radar issue, a little bit of a gap in that radar. That's around northeastern Taylor County, creeping into western Crawford County. But what's to follow? Obviously, you still have your fair share of some steady and heavy rainfall that's over to the west, closer to the Alabama state line. Let's go back to our Warner Robins sky cam. I do believe the heaviest has passed where that sky cam is, but we can still try to get a good image of it. And this just isn't a very well lit area at night. Obviously, the floodlights are about the only thing that is really well lit, but you can still see rain droplets hitting the Skycam lens, and not seeing any power outages per se over here, so that is good news. Still looks like many of the lights are still working. Maybe the wind's not quite as gusty rolling through Warner Robins, but still just some storms rolling in that maybe are waking you up this morning, and trying to keep you updated with the latest data that we do have available. Once this continues to trek out of Houston County and Bibb County here, then we will probably hop off here until maybe we get to Dublin, but the timing of that may be around the morning show, so we'll be able to give you a good picture of that. So back to the sky cam, and nope, that is the wrong tab. Let's go to downtown Macon, see if we can see any visibility starting to clear up. Doesn't quite look like it off in the distance, maybe a little bit of visibility. Just giving you an idea of how quick this band of rain is moving through. This is virtually lasting maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and that may be overstretching it a little bit. So it's a quick mover getting through, and then after you're left with some residual showers. Some are a little bit heavier, but still not going to have the gusty winds that you do have behind the actual boundary that is passing. So once again, the wind gusts, especially farther to the east, we're starting to see a little bit of a downtick in those winds in those areas that did have the severe thunderstorm warning about an hour, 2 hours ago. 6-mile-an-hour wind over in Taylor County, 10-mile-an-hour wind in Thomaston, which is still a notable wind, but it's definitely nothing compared to what the rest of central Georgia is dealing with. We're talking 33-mile-an-hour gusts here in Macon, 32 down in Bleckley County and Cochran. No gusts reported in Warner Robins right now, but still 18-mile-an-hour sustained wind. So that white number that you see is going to be the consistent wind value that is blowing, and then the occasional gusts do run a little bit higher. So that's the yellow number that you see to the right of it. 28-mile-an-hour gusts in Dublin, 26 in Eastman, 46, now that I'm actually looking down there, in Cordele, 39-mile-an-hour sustained wind. So yes, the winds are definitely moving at a good clip in that pink shaded area. Even right now in Americus, you're seeing it in that pink shaded area, only a gust of 25 miles an hour, but those are the occasional gusts that can get up to 46, like what we're dealing with in Cordele down in Chris County. That pink shaded area is still stretching into Dooley, Pulaski, Wilcox, parts of Bleckley County, parts of Dodge County. So those wind gusts can run up into about 40 to maybe 45 miles an hour, or maybe even a little bit higher than that, getting up into 50, 55 miles an hour. Still not quite the threshold that we need for a severe thunderstorm, but winds still strong enough to do some damage. Oh, clicked the wrong thing right there. And here's downtown Macon. I'll let this play out a little bit. Seeing a little bit of a shaking with the camera. I really want to get a good picture of the winds down in Chris County. So I wonder if my graphic will let me pull up our traffic camera. Okay. So we do that. Then change the inputs to traffic cam. Apply. See if that does anything. Nope, it is just a black screen. So sometimes that works with some of our desktops that we do have over there. But nonetheless, we're still getting a fairly good image of what's going on up here in downtown Macon. And once again, it's no reason to worry. It may be something that is waking you up, but these definitely aren't thunderstorms of severe criteria. And something that I told you we'd be keeping an eye on is that velocity. And not seeing really any kinks where you're starting to see maybe some of this red push over into the green. We're still seeing a fairly organized straight line as this front does trek through. Obviously, you get some scattering right here. It's all messy once you get closer to the radar in Jeffersonville. And just got a notification about a severe thunderstorm warning, but I do believe that is to the south of us. Let's see here. Got another note. An update on some power outages. We have 605 customers up here in Bibb County, 249 down in Houston County. So once again, we were trying to get a good picture of that in Kathleen at CGTC. Didn't look like there were many power outages, but there still are some being reported. Taylor County, 576. So that is where one of the severe thunderstorm warnings did roll through. And then Putnam up there around Eatonton, we have about 98 outages. So that warning I was just referring to, that is going to still be to the south of us, so still no one in our southern counties having a thunderstorm strong enough to produce severe criteria. This is areas like Ashburn, Tifton, Fitzgerald, all to the south of us, but just getting to our southern edge. So areas like Wilcox, Crisp County, Telfair County, and then other counties just one county to the north. Obviously not a severe thunderstorm, but the thunderstorms are still strong and just below that criteria. So maybe not necessarily 60-mile-an-hour winds, but still winds of about 50 to 55 miles an hour. Those are the gusts that I'm referring to. And we did see Cordele reporting a 46-mile-an-hour gust just a second ago when we looked at that wind map. All right, so getting a good picture of this heaviest line of rain. So I told you we were going to go on here, keep you updated as this rolled through some of our more populated areas and areas over to the east. That's what I'll leave you with, that time frame of when this heaviest band of rain will move through. I believe when I started this heavy band of rain was more so along the 475 corridor getting into North Macon. Take a look at how fast that has moved. So this general west to east motion hasn't been the fastest that we have seen, but this is still a quick moving front. From about 5 to 10 minutes, you'll get some heavy rain. You'll get some gusty winds that can produce some power outages like I did just report to you. But now this red shaded area is going to continue to move through East Macon and then out of the eastern edge of Bibb County. Dry Branch going to start to hear that heavy rain against your windows and on your roof here in about the next 5 minutes or so. Getting into the western edge of Twiggs County on the border of Houston County. So it does look like a little bit of heavy rain still hanging on to that at the Robbins Air Force Base area and maybe a little bit south down in Bon Air. Looks to be east of Perry now, still some steady to heavy rainfall following behind, but nowhere near as heavy as this red shaded area and those dark reds that you see. Taking it down a little bit further, creeping into the west end of Pulaski County, west of Hawkinsville, in the very east, northeasternmost portion of Dooley County, has rolled through areas like Byronville, Vienna, and Unadilla. And then down into Crisp County, where we see this kind of go a little bit farther over to the southwest. It looks like the heavy rain has just made its way through downtown Cordele, crossing the I-75 corridor. Eventually to follow will be Wilcox County, the westernmost edge of it. So areas like Pineview, Rochelle, Abbeville. And then it didn't really cover anything north of Macon, so let's go back up there. Don't want to leave you guys out by any means. And now the heaviest band of rain moving through the gray area, right smack dab in the middle of Jones County, and will continue to push into areas like Wilkinson County around Gordon, and then eventually southern Baldwin County, Coopers, the Milledgeville area, Stanfordville up in Putnam County. It looks like it's rolling through there right now and making its way into Eatonton in Putnam County. And of course the lakes, Lake Sinclair, Lake Oconee, going to be pretty next on that train of the heavy rain that we do have. So once again, it's kind of a messy scenario farther down to the south and the southwest of us. It looks like the heavier rain is moving kind of east of Bainbridge, Albany, Newton, and over towards areas along the I-75 corridor, Tifton, Adel, Valdosta, and then getting over into Fitzgerald as well. And the other areas still included in a severe thunderstorm watch in South Georgia, northern Florida, along I-10. Still looks like a good amount of lightning down there. And seeing a few lightning strikes up here just to the east of Albany. Will that make it up here into southern central Georgia? Doesn't really look like that's coming to fruition per se, but the good news is we have seen a downtick in intensity and it doesn't really have as much fuel to work with. You see this red shaded box over to the southwest of us. That was a tornado watch, looking like conditions were conducive for producing some rotation in those areas. Didn't see that come to fruition, I don't believe. Like I was saying earlier, I don't think we've seen a tornado warning with this system since way back in Mississippi. So obviously always good news, but it did produce some damaging tornadoes I did see over there on the Texas state line moving into Louisiana and Arkansas. Saw those on social media throughout the morning to afternoon hours yesterday. So still to the southwest, it is a pretty active scenario in terms of severe weather warnings. I'll go ahead and outline the areas in a severe thunderstorm watch still that we will be keeping a close eye on throughout the rest of this morning. And we did get a new update. It looks like Macon County, Taylor, getting up into Crawford, Monroe, Butts counties. All of those have been taken out of the severe thunderstorm watch. Now what remains is Dooley, Crisp, Pulaski, Wilcox, down to Bleckley, Dodge, Telfair, Wheeler, Lawrence, Johnson, Trutland, Montgomery, Toombs County, and Emmanuel counties. So all these counties outlined in that yellow still have the potential for a stronger thunderstorm because of the virtually untapped moisture that continues to filter in from the Atlantic Ocean in the south and the southeast. We'll continue to keep a close eye on them, but right now it does look like the thunderstorms are just below that threshold for severe thunderstorm criteria, but they still are strong enough to down some trees, down some power lines like we have continued to report. So we'll pause it and then we will make another little drawing right here. It's a little bit harder to see on my computer screen, but I'm trying to get that very right edge of this line of red. All right, looks like I got it. And we'll say, oh, that's a little too slow. I think it's probably about 18 miles an hour, but still, maybe just subtract about a minute or two on these times that you do see. 409, some more about 406, 407 in Eatonton, 419-ish in Hawkinsville, about 424 in Pineview, 433 in Jeffersonville, 442 in Cochran, 446 in Coopers, and then just shortly after 451 in Milledgeville, and about 504 in Irwinton, making its way into Wilkinson County. By about that time frame, we will be here for our morning show, and we'll be giving you the latest updates if we are to have any severe warnings pop up in these areas, mainly down to the south and the southeast. Are still under the risk of seeing a severe thunderstorm warning. But once again, it's still just going to be the same thing. A windy rain is really what we're dealing with now, not necessarily thunderstorms because we don't see a lot of lightning and obviously don't hear a lot of thunder because of that. But still, a very good organized line of these straight line winds, not really seeing any kinks or anything per se with it, no indications of rotation. So it has ended up being a better scenario, but still at the same time, not quite out of the woods yet. And like I mentioned, this afternoon, even into tomorrow, we still have the chance of seeing some of those 40-mile-an-hour gusts. And if anything is to get really saturated, the ground's really wet, the soil's a little looser, trees will be a lot more prone to being blown over. So just be cautious out on the roads, especially if you come around some down limbs or maybe even a whole tree per se that's knocked down things like power lines or damaged any property. Just be cautious and try to stay out of the way of those and be sure to turn around if it is blocking your way on the roadway. So that heaviest band of rain looks to move through Warner Robins and the Macon area. Looks like everyone is going to be all good for the rest of these, now getting into the early morning hours, I would say. And as we go about the rest of the day, still residual showers that we're going to continue to monitor on our satellite and radar. After those clear, the winds should start to pick back up and we'll get some clearing as well. But at least the winds will be dealt with more sunny and quiet conditions as opposed to this messy rain and heavy wind that we are seeing. So thank you all for tuning in. I'll come back on if we do have a warning, and if not in that time frame, then I will be back on 13 WMAZ Morning coming up at 5 a.m. Thank you for tuning in.